Hello and welcome to the Plant Paradigm Podcast, where we have inspiring conversations with amazing individuals from all around the world and look for ways to create a clean, green and sustainable future for us, the planet and all beings. I'm your host, Tom Simak, a fellow plant eater who strives to optimize every living ecosystem, passionate about looking after this beautiful floating rock we call home and all the lovely creatures that dwell among it. In today's episode, we're diving deep with my good friend and vegan Ironman, Jansen, and it's actually his second time on the show. He first appeared on episode 61. But just before we get into it, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to those who have been consistently listening, and I appreciate every single Apple and iTunes review that you guys leave. It really helps out the show so much. And on other platforms, just feel free to hit the subscribe, follow, or whatever button or word they use. So we are speaking to Jansen today, an insane vegan Ironman athlete. Last year, Jansen took it upon himself to complete a solo Ironman, and he did that in just under 12 hours. Insane effort. And I'll actually leave the recording and video of his Ironman effort in the show notes below so you guys can check it out. Just last week, Jans competed in the Cairns Ironman and did it in 10 hours and 25 minutes, a huge PB. Since we last interviewed him, this guy has launched his own podcast called the Awoken Athlete. He's interviewed people like Morgan Mitchell, Dr. Clapper, and Bryant Jennings. Jansen is a whole well of a whole circular, encompassing system of knowledge of health, wellness, vitality, and that's exactly what we'll be talking about. We want to dive into the nitty-gritty of how exactly he's smashing out these Ironmans, and so far he's getting a PB every time he's competed in one of these. So I hope you enjoy this conversation, and we're just going to get right into it. Jansen, my friend, my brother, how are you going?
What's happening? Thank you so much for having me on the show once again. It's been more than 12 months, I think, or almost just 12 months since we last spoke on the show. But since then, obviously, we've developed a good friendship and have, hung out quite a fair bit and done a lot of filming and things together. So, yeah, I'm really excited to be back on the show and happy to discuss and have a cool conversation today.
Let's do it. I'm really excited because literally, like you said, I think it was about 12 months ago. At the time, you were still smashing out with Vegan Shack. Melbourne was just going into it, I think, the first really big lockdown. You had not even competed your first half Ironman, which I can't even remember how long that took you. And now since then, you've started your own podcast. You've done a half Ironman. You've done a solo Ironman, and you've competed in Ironman. And in 6 months' time, you're going to be doing another one. That's a whole world of difference. In 12 months, you've achieved so much. Have you ever retrospectively looked back to where you were 12 months ago? How do you do all that?
I mean, I haven't really, only until you just mentioned it. It's funny when you do things, you don't see it, but until somebody says something to you, you look back and go, oh yeah, wow, I've done so much since last time we spoke. And yeah, it's crazy. You don't see it while you're doing it until it's mentioned to you and you're like, okay, cool. Yeah, I've achieved a fair bit.
Yeah, well, looking retrospectively as well, not a year, but just 1 week ago, we were in Cairns and you were doing your Ironman. Have you thought about that whole, firstly, congratulations, I want to say on air. I was there supporting you the whole day, and so were a lot of your close friends and family. It was an absolutely amazing event. To see you cross that finish line was riveting, is the only word I could really think of. It was an absolutely crazy experience and the energy was amazing, and you came through and you absolutely crushed your last time that you did solo in Melbourne. How do you feel now that you had, what was that finish line feeling?
To be honest, it was a totally different experience to the solo Ironman that I did in Melbourne, and I went into it knowing that it was going to be quite a different experience and it would have been easier than doing it on my own, as everyone who'd seen my solo Ironman video and had said, this is going to be your first big event. It's going to be so different. It's going to feel like so much easier. And it did, because there's other people you're racing against. There's, Ironman puts on a massive event, and that, you know, with all of the logistics and stuff that are involved with the aid stations and the other people competing and the shuttle buses and the food and just everything that encompasses the whole event is so massive, and it just makes everything flow so much easier. But yeah, going into it, I knew that I was going to have a better experience, and I wasn't nervous until probably the day when the gun went off and everyone started going in the water. That's probably when I got really nervous, or when my swim cap was getting put on. But as it started, I was like, I just want to get in there. Like, let's go. I want to start swimming, because I wasn't in the first rank, and I was watching other people go in, and I was like, come on, is it going to be my turn soon? And as soon as it went, I just went for it, and I did a personal best in the ocean. I didn't feel like I swam very well, but yeah, I did it in an hour and 11 minutes, which for me in the ocean is better than what I did in Melbourne, which was an hour and 36. The conditions were definitely better than what I did in Melbourne, and it helps when you're swimming with other people, so you can drag off them, sit behind them, and then coming out of the ocean, I looked at my heart rate and I was at 170. And my
That's so high.
Yeah, because when you're running out of the water on the sand, like you want to go get on your bike and get going, but that point there can jack your heart rate up so much. And I remember my coach saying to me, just be careful, like your heart rate's going to jack. You want to keep it low. And obviously that went out the window, and I just wanted to like get on the bike and get going. And then the bike ride was amazing, going towards Port Douglas. Very, very hilly. There's a big climb in there. The whole race is over 1,200 meters of elevation. And then it was a couple of laps. So coming back, there was massive headwinds. Everyone who's ever done Cairns Ironman will know that pretty much never changes, the headwind, you know, that you get coming from Port Douglas back to Cairns. I felt like it wasn't too bad, and I could have like pushed a little bit harder, but my coach always says to me, like, you need to save yourself for the run. So I kind of held back a little bit, and know I could have done better on the bike next time. But the run, the whole situation, I stuck to my plan for the first 15K on the run. So for everyone who doesn't know, you complete a full marathon, which is 42.2 Ks after riding 180 kilometers on the bike, plus a 3.8 kilometer swim, just to clarify. And I stick to your plan for the first 15K, which is what I did. And then it's so easy to get carried away in an event where, especially the turnaround point, there was crowds everywhere. It was the flattest part of the course, and you've got randoms screaming out your name, like, go. And it just gives you like that extra push. And I pushed it too hard. At one point I looked down at my watch and I was like, whoa, I'm running like 4-minute 20K here. Like, I feel good. Okay, I'll just keep going, even though that wasn't my plan. And then you got the crowd cheering you on and people running past you. So I just kept going, and then I hit about 30K and I was like, oh, it's too late. I've hit a wall. I hit a wall at 30K, and then I had 12 and a bit K to go. And I remember my coach saying, come on, we've got a lift in this second half. And I'm thinking to myself, mate, I've got nothing left to give. Like, I'm running 5.5 minute Ks here. I'm maxed out. Like, so finishing that finish line, especially doing that last lap, I was like, I just want to get to the finish line. When I heard them calling out times, I was like, my goal that I want, it's slowly slipping away. I'm not going to reach, which was sub 10 hours. And I heard them call out, you know, you've just become an Ironman, whatever the name is, 9 hours 45. And I'm like, I'm not going to make it. And so I was like, I just need to get to the finish. And yeah, I was in so much pain. Got to the finish and was relieved. Yeah.
That's crazy.
That was my experience.
In, retrospect, I'm thinking, for a lot of people who don't know, like the Ironman and the ultra endurance world, 10.5 hours of straight exercise, you burnt, I think it was like 8,500 calories when we were talking. You didn't get bored at any stage just exercising for this amount? What was the feelings going through the thoughts in your mind? Were you just thinking, one more step, just one more K, and you were just counting down the Ks? Like, what was your mentality like?
Yeah, so I split up each segment. So the swim, all I was thinking about was swimming. I wasn't thinking about getting ready to go on the bike. I was enjoying that moment, being present, being in the moment.
Not getting hit in the face.
No, I got hit in the face quite a few times because you got to swim around the buoys and or the buoys, and everyone's got to keep the buoy to the left, and you get kicked in the face, and then you grab on somebody else's leg, and it's a bit of a fight to get around the corner. But yeah, I was just being in the moment. It's what I generally try and do in life, is just be present, be in the now, because it's the most important moment in your life because it's happening right now. And then coming into the bike, all I did was enjoy the experience of riding along. Like, it's the most scenic route. They say it's one of the most scenic routes in the world for the Ironman.
Yeah.
Looking at the beach on your right there, you're in the pain cave, but also trying to take in your surroundings is so important as well. Just enjoying the moment. But yeah, I just broke up each segment. But when I hit that wall at the 30K on the run, all I was doing was kept looking, going, okay, got another 5K. I remember passing my coach and he goes, "You got 2K left." And I'm like, "Bro, I've got 4K.
Really? Did you feel like giving up at any point?
Nah, not a chance. Nah. I'm the sort of person, even when the going gets tough, since I've been a kid, I never really give up until I've achieved what it is that I want, however long it's going to take me. I'm never going to back out. I'm never going to stop.
I love that mentality, like equipment wise, and in terms of the mistakes that you've made. Do you have any advice, or maybe if you had done the Cairns Ironman all over again, let's say not this weekend coming, but if we went back in time with knowing what you know now, would you have changed anything?
To be honest, I wouldn't have changed a thing except for sticking to my numbers, because my coach had gone over the plan with me for, we've been training together for 6 months, and obviously he's, been a professional for 15 odd years, so he knows the sport. But having that been my first full event with people around and stuff, there's always going to be things you can learn. There's always going to be things you can learn from any event that you do. And from this event, I've learned now that next time I do it, I'm just going to completely stick to the plan, not get carried away, and crowd out all of the noise and just focus on, my own race. Because really the race starts with the run. That's where it's won.
Yeah.
You see so many people blow up, or they've gone too hard on the bike, and then you pass them on the run, and it's like, mate, see you later. But if you stick to your plan, that's why it's so important to have a coach who knows the sport and knows the body and you, especially if you're new to something like this.
Yeah.
Going into it, it's not an easy sport to do. So having professional advice like that is key to completing it well.
What do you reckon it takes to complete an Ironman? Let's not take out the well. The cutoff time for the Cairns one was 16 and a half hours. If someone's sitting here, maybe not even run a half marathon before, maybe someone who's really wanting to get fit and become part of a community, because the Ironman community is quite strong. Everyone loves each other. All these run clubs exercising clubs that I saw up there, man, they were in squads. They were cheering, they were yelling. I put all my money on the fact that they had no voices the day after. It's absolutely insane. And for someone going into an Ironman, what does it take? What does it take to do a 3.8K swim followed by a 180K bike ride and then a marathon? That sounds like stupid numbers, and it takes immense training to do even one of those legs, let alone back to back to back. What does it take? If you're going into this, it takes a lot of commitment, a lot of hours, and you've got to have some sacrifices, because sure, you can go out and complete an Ironman with
no training, but you're going to be in a lot of hurt, a lot of pain, and it's going to take you so much longer. And you're probably not going to enjoy the experience at all. You know, to complete an Ironman and do it well and enjoy the experience, you know, you've got to set aside at least 6 months, at least minimum, to be able to be comfortable with doing the distances and working your way up through the distances, including, you know, lower heart rate sessions, interval sessions, a whole mix, which helps you, you know, develop what your pace is going to be and what you're going to be able to achieve come race day. But massive commitments. Say goodbye to your weekends if you know, working a 9 to 5, and but enjoy the experience, but also know that it's going to be very tough. You know, This isn't something to just for myself, honestly, because I've been doing it for, you know, a couple of years now. It's like I don't even see how it's difficult, but I know when I started, that was a whole different ball game. I remember when I started swimming, I was like, I'm so out of breath. I'm so unfit. It's funny when you do a different sport or you do something different that you've never done, it makes you feel so unfit because you're just not, your muscles aren't trained in that way or your breath isn't trained. But doing 3 sports like in the one event takes a lot, takes a big toll on your body as well. So, you know, definitely incorporate, you know, remedial massages or stretching every single day and just looking after your body and so it can recover, because it's a lot of hours and a lot of pain and stress being put on your body that you need to make sure that you're looking after it.
So you've got 10 and a half. So I'm not going to say 10 and a half. I'm going to say 10 hours, 25 minutes on this, you know, Ironman. And now for Bustleton, you're aiming for low 9s, did you say?
Yeah, low 9s.
That's a huge difference.
It's going to be a big PB again.
1 hour of time. Like, I'm just thinking, to put this into perspective, that is the equivalent of you running 10 kilometers. It takes about 1 hour. So to completely shave that off is going to take, you know, obviously it's a flatter course, but we can't give all the power to the course because the winds can change on the day. You obviously have to now train harder. Like, you might need to upgrade your equipment. Like, how are you thinking you can make that transition?
Yeah, easy. Well, not easy, but bro, I know like I can go sub 5 for the ride, and I know I've got so much gains in the swim that, because swimming's still, it's not my strongest, but I know I can improve so much. So I've just got to have, as my coach says, chlorine smoothies for breakfast, lunch and dinner, and just smash out more swimming and get stronger. And because swimming is all technique. So I went an hour and 11 minutes. I would like to see that number, you know, 50, 55, 56 minutes. So that's going to be a lot of time in the pool and more time in the ocean as well, because it's 2 different things, swimming in a pool and swimming in an ocean. You can get the simulation in the pool with the pool boy in between your pulley in between your legs, but spending more time in the ocean and getting more comfortable in the ocean so I can get faster, you know, because swimming with currents and waves is totally different to a flat chlorinated pool. So I'm looking forward to going into the Hurt Locker a lot more swimming, and then obviously increasing my fitness and my, you know, improving my aerobic system running, and cut the run down as well. Because if I had stuck to my numbers on the run, I probably would have hit 10 hours, close to 10 hours. So I know I've got gains. If I follow the plan, I've got another 6 months of training. It's very achievable. Do
you think like your run was your biggest opportunity to cut down? Is that like your biggest loss or opportunity that you would have had for Cairns, and looking then forward to Bustleton to achieving a slower time frame? Like, obviously you have to focus a little bit on everything, but is that like where you're going to get your biggest bang for buck?
Honestly, if we break it down, let's say we're at 10 hours 25. We break down, we got the 5 hour 23 bike ride. If I can do that in 4 hours 50, that's shaved off half an hour, 35 minutes there. Can shave off 20 minutes in the swim, that's 55, that's almost an hour there. And then shave off 25, 30 minutes on the run, we're going to hit what I want.
Do you look at like the pros? Like say, who's the guy who won? Max Newman or whatever. And we look at his times, like he did like a 44-minute swim or something like that. And he did, I'm not sure on his run time, he did a 2:37 marathon. I'm not sure what his bike time was. When you're doing that, and like, are you looking at these competitors or these pros and thinking, this is at least the current pinnacle for what it takes to win? And then are you working towards, I know that, does it like easily, mentally, does it make it easier saying, I know this is possible, I'm going to work towards that? Are you looking at other competitors and seeing how close you can get to them and how you can surpass them?
Yeah, to be honest, having just last weekend being my first actual Ironman branded event and, racing against people of my caliber, I was pretty blown away with, my age group and how well they performed. And the top guy, I think he did it in 8 hours 56. And obviously going into this event, I thought I was, had a good crack at, hitting podium and stuff. But I now know that I've got a lot of work to do to get up to that point. But I know it's still very achievable. But I'm just going to work closely with my coach and work on my numbers. And it's me against me at the end of the day. But knowing that those are the times that I need is a good margin, a good block for me to chase, really, Yeah.
So, well, I know when you finished the race before, you said it was quite relieving, I guess, obviously having finished this mammoth of a challenge. And I know beforehand, before the race, we were talking, and like you said before, you really wanted to get on the podium. Did you feel like really disappointed during the race and maybe afterwards, I maybe didn't give it my all, or maybe why isn't that me that's on the podium there? Like, did you have these negative thoughts start stirring up? Like, I don't want to put thoughts in your mind, but a lot of people might fall short of the challenges they create for themselves, and they just think, I just wasn't good enough. Did any of that go through your mind?
To be honest, man, I was pretty upset. I mean, I knew that that's all that I could give, but I knew that if I had have stuck to my numbers, I would have jumped up another 10 spots in the rank and would have hit top 15. But it just goes to show how much goes into training for an event like this, and to reach those numbers. To be honest, before I'd race, I thought I had a good shot, but again, this was my first proper event, so I didn't know who I was going up against. I didn't know any of those guys that were racing at all that were ahead of me. I do remember at one point I was neck and neck with this one other guy on the bike, on the run, and then I saw after I hit that wall, he just escaped me and he ended up 15th. But if I had stuck to my numbers...
That's crazy. And that's 10 positions.
Yeah, I would have beat him. And if I had stuck to my numbers and listened to my coach and not get carried away, I would have, I'm cross at myself, because at the end of the day, I'm human as well, my ego came into play, and, I felt better than I did, and I just ignored the professional advice of my coach of sticking to my numbers and looked down and thought, I'm sweet. I'm going better. I'm feeling good. But just like in December last year, when you hit the wall, it comes hard, and it can come in 1K and it's game over. And that's what happened. And as soon as I hit that wall, I was I was really annoyed at myself, because I knew that what I wanted to achieve was out of my reach. But end of the day, we're only human, and we can only learn from experience. So I wouldn't have learned from that experience had I not have, done what I did, which is like anything in life. You have to fall to the ground to be able to get back up, for you to realize, okay, cool, I'm going to take another approach, or I'm going to take the advice. You've got to hurt. And honestly, I was very disappointed in myself. I only a few people know, but I didn't achieve what I wanted to. It was a great time. It was a PB, but it's not what I wanted, So, yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess ego always comes into play, and retrospectively, I think you feel a lot better now, even having finished the race, knowing that you gave it all you could, like methodically and strategically. Yeah, you could have maybe changed a few things to get a better result, but knowing that you didn't leave an ounce of your soul out in that gravel and you just went all the way through would make that negative thought, I think, so much less, because, I can't beat myself up too much. If I gave it 100%, what are you going to do?
That's it. At the end of the day, it comes down to tactics and techniques, if you want to achieve what you want to achieve. But yeah, I gave it my all, and, I still, people go, wow, you're an inspiration, or like, that's amazing. And I still look at their comments and listen to their messages and think, cool, thanks. But like, I don't think so,
Yeah.
Like,
it's that whole...
you are your own worst critique, in anything in life, like even yourself. You're so hard on yourself, not you personally, but everyone is their own worst critique, and no one else can see those faults but you. But at the end of the day, we are human. We have emotions. We feel. That's totally normal.
Yeah, and obviously you didn't know that. You took a lot of mental training to understand that, I feel so bad about myself. Like, why is that? And then understanding that's coming from within must have really helped you, and all that emotional training over the years, positive mind. What is your affirmation that you say?
Positive mind, positive soul, positive body.
And is this like, do you do daily affirmations?
I do daily affirmations. I do. Yeah. So, every single morning, I say it to a lot of people, but if you can look yourself in the mirror every single morning and tell yourself that you're beautiful, tell yourself that you're strong, give yourself those positive words, your day is going to start out so much better than if you didn't do that. They say, oh, did you wake up on the wrong side of bed? Well, even if you do, like, do those things. It's very confronting to talk to yourself in front of the mirror, but it's a game changer.
So that's the fitness side of things. Nutritionally, like, you don't hide the fact that you're a plant-powered athlete. They call you the flaming avocado. Is that name catching on?
Oh, honestly, my coach came up with it on the weekend, and yeah, it's going to catch on. I feel like it.
It's a pretty cool name. Like, yeah. I'm picturing, because you've got the avocado tart, I'm picturing like a cape on this avocado, and flaming, you're fast, you're hitting it, you're scorching your competitors. Obviously, nutrition is a huge part of fitness. Like, you think about it, it can really make or break an event if you don't do things like carb load, or even fuel yourself with crappy foods during the event, like wink, wink, Red Bull. But obviously these things, they help you in the moment, even though they might not nobody does a training day with Red Bull. I hope not anyway. But how did you prepare nutritionally for a mammoth of event like this?
Honestly, I generally eat whole foods, as much as possible. Besides, I may have some like good whole grain, organic sourdough or like bread or whatever it is, but I generally stick to mainly, whole foods where I can, and that's what I feel good on. However, when it comes to race day, it's very hard to pack a lot of whole foods in your jersey, or your, as whole food as it got was dates on the bike, as well as, then there's just no room to pack in bananas and sweet potato, and without it going all pear-shaped and you losing your nutrition and then being cooked for the whole event. So, yeah, but leading into it, obviously, I just ate normal, so all whole foods, lots of carbohydrates, proteins, everything
high fat keto.
Definitely not high fat keto. I did experiment though with fasting 3 weeks prior. I did a podcast with Tyler Tolman, who talks about water fasting, and he mentioned that he had coached some people who had won Ironman races and stuff completely fasted.
That's crazy.
So I thought, I'm 3 weeks out. It's probably a good time to try now rather than, hey, I'm a week out. Let's give it a crack. It would have been way too close to recover and all that kind of stuff. So I gave it a crack, and then I felt good, but the reason why I stopped was I did a juice cleanse or juice feast, and then I didn't have any juice or anything for the next day. So I just thought, I'll just stop here because it's going to be too hard for me to keep going. And I just felt like I felt strong and everything like that, but I feel like maybe next time I'll do it a little bit earlier than 3 weeks. I just thought I was cutting it fine too much. So I decided to do it all the way I had already been training for 6 months, which was with food. But yeah, the nutrition is absolutely key because you don't want to be, it really depends what you train your body on. Whatever you train your body on, you need to do that on race day. Like when I go out riding, I take dates, but I also take Cliff Bars. I also take gels just to get my body used to having that kind of stuff in a race simulation or going out for 6 hours, just so my body, but at the end of the race, man, I don't want to see a gel or a Cliff Bar for another six weeks or so. I'm just disgusted.
Here I was offering you a Cliff Bar when you came
I
in.
know.
I'm like, hey, do you want a Cliff Bar?
Please, no more. I remember on the run, I went to my last gel and I was like, oh, this is just gross. I really don't want to finish
I actually don't know how you do it. I really don't like them. They're so syrupy.
Very
when
syrupy.
you're saying Cliff Bars, are you talking like the gels or the little jelly things? Or are you talking the syrup? Or are you talking the actual bar?
The actual bars, yeah. Pack them into the back of the jersey there and just have.
They're at least yummy.
They are yummy. Got lots of different flavors, and they're
not
all
sponsored, but
not
Cliff,
sponsored.
reach out.
They're all
I know you
reach
listen.
out. They're all vegan, and yeah, they helped me. So.
Were you counting your calories? Like, how are you working that? Were you saying at least, like, I need to consume at least, I don't know, 1 gram of protein per kilo? Or are you just looking at, like, I need to, just as long as I hit my 2,500 or 3,000 calories a day, I don't care how I get it. Like, how are you going about that?
Are we talking about pre-race?
Or like even in your month's preparation?
Yeah,
like
yeah,
when you were doing, I remember about a month prior to the race, you were going hard. Like your training days were long.
Yeah.
How much were you eating?
I had 25-hour plus weeks of training. So for those of you looking to get into it, that's kind of a mark of what it takes, 20 hours, 15, 25. It's not like 5 hours a week. It's pretty intense sessions with weekends, upwards of 10 hours, 11 hours on the weekend, a lot of training, a lot of hours. But how would I fuel that? Honestly, I was just eating as much as I could because I knew that on the weekend, I was always going to be in a deficit. There's no way that I can eat, say for instance, on a Saturday, you go for a 5-hour ride, there's, 4,000 calories there. You back that up Sunday with another, 4-hour session, a 3-hour run, a 1-hour swim, you're upwards of like,
huge deficit. Plus your metabolic.
Plus what
basal
it is
rate,
for me to
yeah.
breathe and live as function as a human. 7,000 calories. I cannot eat that much food. So I would make sure during the week I would eat enough, with my shorter sessions because I knew that by the time the weekend came, there's no way. I just can't eat. I've tried. I've done,
Really?
I've done 5,000 in one day, and it's just like you just feel sick. It's not a good time at all. And yeah.
I mean, speaking of food, something that has changed quite a bit since we last had this podcast episode was Vegan Shack. So that bad boy, your baby, has unfortunately been victim of good old C19. Obviously, I can speak for the whole Australian population with I miss your toasties. You've obviously now adapted that and gone into personal chefing. Have you still retained like your love for food in terms of like making it and creating recipes?
Honestly, yeah, it's funny because back 6, 7 years ago, this is what I actually started doing, was going into and doing meal prep for people, and I'm back doing that.
Full circle.
Full circle of life. But, I loved the cafe, every minute of it, didn't want it to end. But when the thing came around and, we had to change it to takeaway and all that kind of stuff, I stopped loving it, because it wasn't the place that that my mum and I built for it to be, was this takeaway outlet. It was for people to come and enjoy, have an escape from their normal lives, and it just wasn't that anymore. And we just knew we had to pull the pin. So moved up to the Gold Coast now, and living on the beach. And we were actually going to open up here. We looked at a few places, looked at some leases, really, really close to signing a lease, and they just wanted way too much money. So, we decided, actually Mum made the call, and I was really upset, because it's all I knew, was cafe, and, it's hard doing something new again. And I was like, what am I going to do with my life? And she's like, you'll be fine. You're 20, you're so young. And of course, that was my whole world. My whole world was consumed by the cafe and the culture and everything that we created. I didn't want to not do that again. And we started selling all the equipment. We're still doing that currently. And it was funny. Off the back of a Facebook comment, somebody said, hey, who does vegan cakes on the coast? And my friend commented, Jansen. And then this other person hit me up in personal messages saying, she said, we just got rid of our personal chef. Is this something that you do? And I said, actually, it is something that I've done before, and I'm very capable. And then it totally just took off from there. And then I started working with her, and then word of mouth, she told her friends. And then I did some tarot card readings, and, I always give and take when you do things like that. As to, you're always going to find something in there that resonates with you. Yeah. And one of the cards was change, and it had to do with business and all this kind of stuff. And I just went hard. I just went for it and said, this is what I'm going to do. And the reason why I love it so much is because, back to your question, do I still love creating food and recipes and stuff? I actually love it more now, because I've got the freedom to do exactly what I want, individualize it to the client, obviously, providing them with the macronutrient, the vitamin intake, and explaining to them why I've included certain ingredients in the dish. For instance, why I've included lemon juice in the dressing that's going on a dish that's high in iron with white beans or kale, so it can increase the absorption of iron within the bloodstream. So educating them on the fact, rather than, hey, we're eating lunch, they're like, cool, I'm eating this, and this is actually properly absorbing, rather than just eating a meal. So I do love it even more now, because awesome. I don't have the stresses and the overheads of lease, rent, people coming into the cafe that, I may not necessarily, I loved absolutely everyone, but now I'm just working direct one-on-one with people that want to work with me. It's fantastic.
I'm thinking connection is really your vibe. Like, when we're looking back to that Facebook post, which I think you're referring to, when you guys posted that, you announced to the world that the Vegan Shack's closing, you guys got a plethora of love. Like, it was insane to see. And I almost wanted to cry on your behalf, to have such a community that you might not know very personally, but these guys, like, what can we do to back you up? Like, we don't want to see you go down as like another victim. Like, we really want to help you guys out. And obviously it had been too far gone at that point, but that must have been like super emotional for you. And like, how do you even create a customer connection like that as a business? Like, how are you fostering these relationships?
Honestly, when we set out to open, like I said, we wanted it to be homely, because that's what, Mum and I have always been, is creating those relationships and making it a different experience than just your general cafe. Hey, can I have a soy latte? It was more, hey, how's your day? How's your wife? How are the kids? It was very personal, because we loved it. We love the reason why we loved the cafe as well was all the people that came in, all the stories, the friendships we created, and I guess we truly didn't realize how much of an impact that we had until we said it's time to say goodbye. Some people came and said, wow, like, please don't go. You were the highlight of our week. We loved coming here, even especially during what happened with the lockdowns. People would come in just for a chat. We had this one customer write us a huge email of how we helped him, get over cancer and all these touching stories. And it honestly just brought so much tears to our eyes, because you just don't realize how much of an impact you make, whether it's in a business or within a friendship, until that person is gone or you're no longer there. It's almost like when somebody passes, you then express, before someone's about to pass away, you express how much they mean to you, and that's kind of what we felt closing the vegan shack. And so now sometimes I still miss it, to be honest. I miss that everyday grind, and it is very, very hard work. For everyone who knows hospitality, it's a non-stop kind of situation. Even if when you're away on holidays, there's always things in the back of your mind, staff, all that kind of stuff. But now I feel like I'm in a place where I'm not constantly thinking about it. I'm investing, in my clients when I'm there with them, and, personalizing meal plans to what, they specify to me. And it's more fun and intricate, and yeah.
You know what? You can tell straight out the bat that you care a lot about people. And I think that comes through really well in something that has also changed a lot over these last 12 months, which is your Instagram page. You have this, let's say, energy. When I call you, all I hear is, actually, wait, I want you to lean back from the microphone a little bit, and I want you to show people how you answer the phone when I call you.
Let's role play it.
Let's role play. Calling Jansen. Bring, bring.
What's happening?
How about that for Love for Life? And that kind of really shows why customers at the Vegan Shack had this insane impact from your business. And now, living on the coast, it's a completely different lifestyle up here. You don't have to stress about things like that. You get that one-on-one time, and you've had time to really focus on fitness, which might have been even a bit more difficult while running the Vegan Shack. Like, I'd imagine that was a lot more time consuming, and the time that you could spend fostering the relationships in your life would have been very different or amended in a lot of different ways. So now, your Instagrams and social media following is blown up, really, and you've got this podcast now, so you're creating all these amazing things. And, what do you think you represent on social media? Like, why are you posting so much? Have you thought about your reasons?
100%. And that comes down to why I do what I do, and my reason is to help people be the best version of themselves possible, and go out and smash their goals and set goals and just keep pushing themselves, and, constantly learning and knowing that it's okay to, be down sometimes, or angry or sad, because that's totally okay, because we are human. Like I said before, we do have emotions and we do feel. So I just want people to know that, honestly, like, as much as I get messages and stuff about how much, I'm an inspiration and all that kind of stuff, and like I had a conversation with Jake the other day, it ends up putting you on a pedestal, and it's a lot of pressure, and being a motivator and all this kind of stuff. But I generally just put out content because I'm generally just happy most of the time, but I do have, times where I'm not happy and I'm not jacked, like I say, but when I do that over Instagram, I actually generally am. I'm somebody who, gets down but gets picked back up again straight away, because we are all on this planet, and, you never know when life can be taken away. So I generally live for the moment, live for the present, live for right now, because this moment is so important, because it'll never happen again. You and I will never be sitting across from each other on this day ever again. We're having this moment, honestly, right now. So that's why it's so important. It's the moment that you're having right now is the most important moment in your life, because it's happening right now. Nothing else matters. Be present, and that's it. Focus on the now. And just know that also, if you're going through a tough time, like I always say, flowers don't grow without rain. And it's so true. Like there's always beauty that comes out of storms, and it's not going to rain forever. It's always going to be greener on the other side. But it's okay to feel during the rain, during the tough times, feel sad, feel down, because that's normal. Don't suppress those emotions, because we are human. I have them too, and I try to get that across to people as well, is that, you see a lot of these pages, these highlight reels, and then you meet them in real life in person, and it's like, well, you're nothing like that, It's important to share, because Instagram and social media can be so detrimental to people's health, because they look up to these people and they're like, wow, I don't feel like that all the time. Like, there must be something wrong with me. So it can be quite damaging. But at the end of the day, live life, love life, enjoy the moments, enjoy the surroundings of, who you are around most of the time. And, they always say, and, what I like to say is, you become who you surround yourself with. And they generally say the 5 people. You want to have people in your life, and it's hard to find all the qualities in one person, but that challenge you, inspire you, motivate you, and support you. You may get a few of these in one person, or you may have, hey, Tom supports me, he doesn't inspire me. I'm just saying.
Thanks, bro. Jeez, at least I know you don't talk behind my back, because you have you just say it right in front of my face.
But what I'm saying is, don't cut somebody out of your life because they don't have all 4 of those pillars.
Yep.
Because it's very hard to find somebody who has all 4 of them. They may have 3, they may have 2, they may have 1, but and if you find someone who has all 4, never get rid of them in your life. And even if you find someone who has 1, don't get rid of them, because you may be the extra 3 that they need in their life,
Yeah, as long as the relationship's not toxic, you don't need to...
That's exactly right. As long as the relationship isn't toxic, and when it becomes toxic to you and your health, then at the end of the day, you live in your body, and you need to look after yourself as well.
I want to bounce with that mentality for a second, but I think something that I read that I have been talking about a little bit, which just really struck a chord, it's like, you don't see it all the time retrospectively, but you can think about it, which is what Jay Shetty says, and that's someone's in your life for a reason or a season or a lifetime. And I think that's really cool to really think, who do you want? Sometimes you don't get to choose. Sometimes people can leave you, much like you might not be the person that the other person needs, so they leave you. And so instead of feeling bummed about that, you can just be like, they were just here for a reason or a season, but not a lifetime. And that's fine. But the other part that I want to bring up is the fact that you mentioned, you're the average of the 5 people you hang around. And when it comes to mindset and physical ability and all these different things, I think it's actually incredibly difficult to hit the average and to really articulate and bring into manifestation what you want the average to be. Like they say, if you're the smartest person in the room, leave the room. Go around people that inspire you to raise your average. But how do you do that in a time like you're getting to a level where you're going to be incredibly fit? Like me hanging around you for physical performance, amazing. My average is going to go up because you might inspire me to raise, my foundation to be higher so I can become fitter. But for you, that's going to start becoming a little bit more difficult. So how are you going to adapt to, surround yourself with people that are fitter than you? Have you thought about how you're going to work around that?
In terms of fitness, there are a lot of people out there that are fitter than me. I'm, thinking about, especially, there's always things in your life that you can improve on. And in fitness, I'm feeling like I'm going to join a swim squad, because I'm not the strongest swimmer. And I feel like if I swim with people that have more experience than me and swim in a squad, I'll learn more technique. I'll get a lot better and a lot faster and a lot stronger. And at the end of the day, though, like with fitness, I'm somebody who knows how to hurt, and I like to go into that pain cave, and I like to get into that hurt locker and, crush me against me, honestly, with no distractions. So in terms of surrounding myself with people that are fitter than me, I don't really know if that's going to be something that I incorporate in terms of, endurance and all that kind of stuff. It would be nice. I do have one guy that I do ride with, and we're pretty similar. He's a little bit better than me, so I'd like to keep riding more with him. But yeah, it's hard when you're not training for the same thing.
Yeah.
I found, because I can be training with someone who is fitter than me, but if I'm doing a different session or it doesn't match up with my thing or it doesn't match up with theirs, generally it won't ever really work. And it's hard because if I'm working towards a goal, say in December, and I've done all this training throughout the week and they're working here, I'm working there, then our times we meet, but I don't have that 5 hours on that day, or I don't have that hour on that day. It's never going to match up. So yeah, I don't know about surrounding myself with more people that are fitter than me. I just want to go back into myself, back into the cave and one-on-one with my coach and join a swim squad and just go at it again for another 6 months and smash it out of the park again in December. But in terms of, if we're not talking about fitness, if we're talking about other things, then
what about like attitude towards life?
Totally. I mean, I already only, generally hang out with people that are going for things in life, and it can be, I'll only really spend time with people that I want to hang out with, or that I want to spend my hours with, because at the end of the day, life is short. So there's no point hanging around with people or doing things that you don't really want to do, because you could not be here tomorrow. Life is, and time is so precious. So use it, spend it wisely with people that you love, people that inspire you, challenge you, motivate you, support you, and you'll end up feeling better about yourself. There's no point, like, I remember I don't hang around with a lot of the people that I used to go to school with. And, I like you said before, they're in your life for a reason, but stay for a season. At that time, going through school and stuff like that, it was amazing. We were good friends, but we're humans. It's like relationships. We grow when we grow in different directions, and that's totally okay. It's okay because we develop at different rates, and it's okay not to have that person in your life your whole life. They were there. They supported you during that time, and you've grown apart, and that's okay. They're going in their direction. You're going in your direction, and it's all about acceptance. Acceptance of that's how it is, Don't try and grasp onto something if like you're saying, if it's toxic or you feel like it's not working anymore, because it worked at a point and now it's not. It's cutthroat, but it's kind of like,
you kind of have to be sometimes.
You have to be. You got to look after yourself. And if you're not feeling that energy anymore with that person, or you're not feeling inspired anymore, then move on.
Where do you find inspiration when it comes to like fitness things or like attitude things? Do you have like mentors or ideologies or philosophies that you look towards? Like, this is my goal of Jansen Andre. Like, this is the person I want to embody. This is why. This is the mentor that's shown me that this is, you know, the path I want to take. Who do you look to, or what are the philosophies that you associate yourself with?
So funny you say that, man, because I've been listening to a lot of Matthew McConaughey recently. And
really? The red light, green light?
Red light, green light.
Yeah.
And bro, the only person I'm chasing is me. That's it. And like he says, in 10 years' time, it's going to move. I'm never going to reach. I'm always looking at me in the future and how I'm going to be, you know? That's it.
So, like, do you have, how do you work with like your goals? Like, obviously with fitness, it's, you know, it's pretty easy. Well, I don't want to say easy, but to set them is pretty straightforward. You think, okay, I'm coming into Bustled and I want to hit 9:10 or whatever it is for time. And then you work backwards. What does it take to hit that time? And then, you know, like you were talking about at the beginning, shave 20 minutes off here, 15 minutes on there. But you don't really have that with like mentality, with, you know, positive mental attitude. Like, how do you know that you're becoming a better person and not remaining stale in life?
I honestly just keep challenging myself, keep testing myself in different ways. And
give me some way that you challenge yourself.
To be honest, like starting a podcast, you know, I said to you before, and you know, I had a meeting with a friend, and he said, "Hey, what's next? Like, you finished the Vegan Shack now. What's next?" And I said, "Oh, I've been thinking about doing a podcast." And it's always that barrier to entry where it's kind of like starting it and doing the work, and then the fear of it not being good enough or no one liking it. That's all in your head. You create all of that yourself in your own head. So I'm always jumping into the deep end and reaching out to people, you know, that are of high profile, or, you know, doing something that I've never done before. And honestly, like even my job, you know, I love it. Going into people's homes can be, you know, quite a scary experience. You know, you're going into a stranger's home, but I kind of have this personality where I just find something I like in someone. And it's just, I don't know where I'm going with this point, but I just am constantly challenging myself to be the best version of myself. And I like change. I like, you know, trying new things so that I can grow and develop. And, you know, the only fear I have, which a lot of people have, is, you know, of failure. But the only time you're ever going to fail is if you don't actually try, you know. So I always give everything a good shot. And if it doesn't work out, I'll go at it harder, or I know I've tried it and it's not for me. But I always like trying something new. One body, one life. That's how I like to live. And so nothing is ever out of reach. The only limitations that you set are the ones that you set yourself.
I love all that. I want to pivot for a second, kind of stay in the realm of advice, but kind of look at different topics. You're a chef. You've got, you had Vegan Shack. You now do this private chefing. You obviously cook for yourself. You cook for us sometimes. You know, your food's obviously amazing and you fuel your body with goodness. Obviously, we want to eat those whole foods to make sure we're getting the right phytonutrients. We've got those anti-cancer properties. We've got all this amazing goodness running through our bloodstreams. Can you share with us a recipe or maybe a meal that you love to go to for even a breakfast or a dinner? Can you walk us through something?
Yeah, 100%.
Which one do I choose?
Yeah, I've got such a realm of recipes just cycling.
Do you write them down or are they all in your mind?
No, I especially with you know, the realm of work that I do, I have to write things down, because if I want to create the same experience for, you know, my clients over and over again, I have to I generally once I do something over and over again, I don't need a recipe.
Yeah.
Don't need to have it written down. But if it's something I've created, just off the bat, I will generally just create it, and then I'd backtrack and then write it down. I get caught in the moment of just adding things and doing this and doing that. I never really write it down until I've tried it, and then I'll backtrack and I generally remember what spices and stuff I put in. Like I make a mental note as I'm cooking it. But oh mate, honestly, like I'd have to go with my anti-inflammatory Rendang ginger kind of curry, especially now that we're coming into winter. It starts off, man, it's a powerhouse of anti-inflammatory properties. So you got the turmeric in there, you got the ginger, you got the lemongrass. It's a real flavor combination. You got cinnamon in there. I also use beef style stock as well, which is the vegan one from Maysel.
Can you run the recipe off your head right now?
Oh, easily.
Go for it.
So we got
seriously.
We got an onion. We're going to put this in the blender first. So we're going to create like a paste. So we got one onion. Make sure you got a pen and paper here. One onion. I like a big knob of ginger. 2 lemongrass stalks. 12 small chilies if you like heat. De-seed them or don't de-seed them, or go 6 chilies, de-seed them, or do half and half. We're going to put in a teaspoon of the beef style stock, the vegan beef style stock. We're then going to put in a teaspoon of cinnamon, a teaspoon of...
How much beef style stock?
Turmeric, just a teaspoon. Then we're going to blend that up until it's like a paste, not pulverized, but just like pulse that in the blender. Put that in the pan with some... I like to use coconut oil because it helps absorb and and increase the anti-inflammatory properties in the turmeric. Pop that in there, let it until it starts smelling, and then I drop in 12 cardamom pods, heat that up there. And this is a tofu and tempeh recipe, so I do half and half, about 250 grams of each, which is generally like almost a block of tofu and a block of tempeh. Get it all brown and crispy, coat it up in there till it's golden. And then we're going to go ahead and put in the greens. I like to put in broccoli, pak choi. You can even mix it up if you want a bit of color. Pre-steam some carrots because otherwise they'll take too long to cook. Then you can then we're going to go in with coconut cream and some vegetable stock. We go for this recipe about 800 combined of coconut cream, so about 400 coconut cream, which is about a tin, and then 400 mils of the beef style stock as well. Pour that on top, let it simmer. Then we're going to put in some lime juice and lime rind, and some kaffir lime, generally about 4 kaffir lime finely chopped up. Put it in there, cook some rice or some quinoa, some roti. Sear that up and serve it up. And honestly, it's like you're in Indonesia. Yeah.
I should have made you do that recipe at the end because I'm starting to get a bit hungry now. It was so funny watching you do it. Like you were looking down at the table and you're doing the hand movements to put it in. It's like
blending.
Yeah, you did it all. I was so impressed. Look, I'm gonna go on with the tip portion of things. Nutritionally, like, do you have any tips for someone who is maybe going to run a marathon or is going to, do these half Ironmans or Ironmans? Do you like to stick to breakfast, lunch, dinner? How do you incorporate fasting into your regime? Like what kind of, are you doing like most of your carbs in the morning? Are you following any kind of strategy or methodology in terms of your eating?
Yeah, good question. When I was training for the previous event, don't underestimate how much food you actually need to eat. We generally don't eat enough as it is, especially people on plant-based.
Totally disagree. We eat too much.
Yeah, well, that's true. But on plant-based diets,
right.
People entering this into for the first time, plant-based foods are less calorie dense than animal-based products. So the volume needs to increase quite a lot. Which is also a barrier to entry for some people too, because they feel like, oh my God, I'm eating way too much food. But you need to eat more because it's less calorie dense. And this is why a lot of people don't do so well on plant-based diets, is because they don't eat enough volume. And it's very important, I'll say it again, very important to eat more, you know. But going into doing something like this, whether it's a marathon or whatever it is, just if you've got a watch, or you can kind of say, if you don't even have one, generally everyone's different with how many calories that you burn, but it's going to be quite a significant amount. You know, if you know your BMR or whatever that is, even if you don't, it's going to be quite a lot more. How many calories you need to consume on top of what you already need to consume as a human just to live and breathe. But my advice would be, you know, I like to use an app if you've got a smartphone called Chronometer, and I use this quite frequently in the beginning to track, because it not only gives you the breakdowns, it also gives you the breakdowns of the vitamins, the minerals, absolutely everything in there. So you can gain more of an understanding of, when you do put a meal together, after you've used this app for quite some time, what you're actually consuming, where the vitamins are coming from, and what's in the bowl, rather than just like, oh, this is carbs, this is protein. You've got more broader knowledge, you know, if you want to be educated, which I think it's very important that you do become educated, because it's all about the 1%. You know, doing such an intense load of training like this, you want to make sure that you're in top form. And to do this, one of the key pillars is diet. You know, once you look after your diet, everything else will be okay. You know, not everything else will be okay, but it's one of the important factors.
They always say you can't outrun a bad diet.
You can't outrun a bad diet at all, no matter how hard you train. And a calorie is not a calorie. Let's just make that clear. You know, I'm not a bodybuilder. I'm not a, you know, elite athlete, professional, whatever. But a calorie is not a calorie. We should all know that by now. 100 calories of banana is not the same as 100 calories of a chocolate bar. There's just a plethora of difference between that. I'm sure you would agree.
Totally.
You know, it's not calories in versus calories out, but you do have to make sure you eat enough calories, but make sure they're good quality calories, full of nutrients, which I always like to say to people, eat a rainbow throughout the day. Make sure you're eating enough fruits, vegetables. But in terms of fasting, yeah, I didn't fast quite a lot during this last training block, because like I said before, I was always going to be in a deficit, knowing on the weekend my load of training, there's no way I could eat enough food. But now coming on to, you know, off season for 6-7 weeks, I'm going to be including a lot more fasting. I'm going to start a challenge, and I'm going to make sure that I do at least 16 hours per day.
It's like intermittent fasting.
Intermittent fasting. Yep. And because I'm just going to be doing low-key, get back into CrossFit and do other sort of stuff while still running and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I won't be needing the significant amount of calories that it takes to put back in from endurance training.
I'm curious to know your take, and if you can't answer this, you can't answer this.
Sure.
If you have like some sort of, because I know you obviously work closely with, you know, Nimai's Protein Veg. Do you think that you can do an event like an Ironman or even a marathon? Let's, like, obviously day to day, if you're just a normal human, you maybe exercise 30 minutes a day, or maybe you're just active, you know, doing your walk 1-2 hours a day. Like, you're just being an active being. Clearly, we can set the record. You don't need to supplement protein. No way. But when we're looking at training for these intense events, you know, leading up to it or even after training sessions, do you think it's possible to do it without supplementation?
Yeah, I definitely do think it is possible to do it without supplementation. It will be a little bit harder, considering you'll have to consume a lot more food, and for a lot of people that can be hard, considering how much you actually need to consume. But there's enough protein in plants and whole foods, you know, as it is. I just use it, and I absolutely love veg nutrition. So shout out to Nimai and the crew.
What's your code?
Jance 666. Use that code and you'll receive a discount on your products. But honestly, it's one of the cleanest proteins. Got rated out of 80 brands, vegan and non-vegan, and it suits my gut very well. And it's all organic. But yeah, it helped me, get more protein into my diet. But at the end of the day, everybody's body is different. But I, at the moment, do need a bit more protein in my diet than carbohydrates. So I'm going on a different kind of plan to fix a lot of gut issues and stuff that I have, which is totally fine. That's normal. Again, we have moments in our life where not everything.
So you don't have a perfect body?
No, I don't have a perfect body. May look like from the outside, but I recently got a stool test. And sorry if you're eating dinner, but yeah, there was a few things found within me, my gut microbiome that I need to fix. A few things just to avoid more bacteria building up and stuff. And yes, I'm going on a little cleanse of lower glycemic carbs. I need more protein in my diet, so I'm going to up my, intake of that, whether that's through the protein powder or just more tempeh, more tofu, more chickpeas. I've got to stay away from all processed foods, which I generally do anyway. And yeah, just have to do that for a few, maybe 2 months. I'm going to do it for just to clean out whatever's going on in my.
I'm guessing that's just because proteins are a bit easier to, digest, and carbohydrates that can be quite starchy and take a bit more energy.
Yes.
For your gut to get into them.
Yeah.
Awesome. I want to switch gears then to the fitness side of things. So nutritionally, we've got a lot of tips. We obviously want to hit whole foods as much as possible. Fitness-wise, I would say you're pretty much coming to a point where you're at an expert level of running, swimming, cycling, and I'd probably add CrossFit in there and craziness as the fifth. And do you have any advice for any one of those 4 to 5 fields, or someone who's looking to get into exercise, or, when we're looking at an example of most Australians and Americans and Europeans, usually not to segregate the rest of the world. But, you have like 30 minutes a day of exercise. You might just go to the gym, lift a few barbells or something, do what the machine says with the guide, but you want to get better at something, whether that's running, whether that's gym. Like, do you have any advice on general fitness level, or is there anything that you learned recently on one of those specific fields that just changed the whole game for you?
Honestly, if you want to get better at something, whether it's within fitness or anything in life, go and find somebody who's an expert in that field, learn from them. There's this book, it's called 10,000 Hours. If you can borrow time from other people that have made the mistakes or that have succeeded within that field, if you can borrow that time, you're saving yourself time and from making those mistakes, and you're getting ahead.
Priceless.
It's priceless. Find somebody who's an expert already, get advice from them, somebody who's done it already, and then trial it. And then if it's not for you, then you haven't wasted all of this time. You've cut so much time out of it. So
That's right.
Find somebody who's an expert.
Now, this is going to be a hard question, maybe. Running, swimming, cycling, that's kind of like your big focus, I'm guessing, especially for Bustleton coming up. Do you have a favorite?
Honestly, I've been a runner since I was a kid. I've always done little athletics, cross country, and so that's my strong point. But the reason why I really like swimming is because I'm not the best at it and I want to get better at it, which sounds a bit different to a lot of people, because like, why would you want to do something if you're, not as good at it? But I like to do things that I'm not as good at more so that I can get better at that. I like to challenge myself more. And if I don't work on my weaknesses, then how are they going to become my strengths? So work on things that you aren't as good at, then you'll become better at them rather than neglect them. But it's hard with doing 3 sports,
Is it like choosing a baby?
Yeah, what's that?
Is it like choosing a favorite kid?
Choosing a favorite kid. Yeah, but you can't be amazing at just one of them. You have to be good at all of them.
Do you think that, like, that obviously is a huge downfall? Like, you can't have an Ironman really excel at, like, what is that France bike thing that's
Tour de France.
Yeah. If you look at that, like, that definitely impeaches the fact that you could be a better runner. Do you ever, like, especially if, like, running is your favorite thing, do you ever think, because I have to be a multi-sport athlete, I can never be the best runner? Does that ever bother you?
Nah, it never bothers me because that's not my goal. Because I know if I wanted to be a better runner, then I wouldn't be doing Ironman. I wouldn't be doing endurance training. That's just it.
Do you have a tip for, like, how to, because I see you running and you're doing 30Ks, and I swear to God, I've never seen a sweat on you sometimes, some of these days. It might be that you're falling off you. Do you have a tip to run better?
Honestly, what I've learned is keep your slow days slow and your fast days fast. Fast is smooth and smooth is slow. You'll only get faster if you stick within your aerobic zone more. So if you're for instance, like my long runs, I've got to stick my heart rate between 130, 140, which is quite low. It can be quite demoralizing because your ego gets in the way and you see people run past you and you think, oh, I can run faster than them. But that day, that long run is not what I'm aiming for, is to run fast. And eventually, including your interval sessions and training like that, your slow days will become faster. But they'll only become faster if you stay within your zone when you're meant to and go fast when you're meant to. Don't cross those paths and trust in the process. You know, that's what I've had to learn as well, is the sport that I'm doing, you can't get good at overnight. It takes time. You have a look at some of the professionals, even you go up in the age groups, 40 plus, they've been doing it for so long. They're seasoned. Like they've had so many years of training under their belt that their 130, 140 is way faster than my 130, 140. But I can't get there straight away. I've just got to trust the process and keep working. And that can be frustrating sometimes, but that's the sport that I chose. So I understand and I accept.
Yeah, I think, ego getting in the way is a huge problem. I know sticking to zone 2, it's like, what does this even mean? Like, why am I going so slow? But, you talk about how much it was a game changer for you. So I think for anyone looking to come out, I think that's actually phenomenal advice. Well, that and what you touched on earlier with it, stick to the bloody plan. Keep your fast days slow. Keep your fast days fast and your slow days slow. I think not sticking to the plan is a mistake you made during the Cairns Ironman, and that might have been quite a painful lesson. So I think using that mentality of 10,000 hours now to learn from your, experience to really kind of stick to the block, stick to what is meant to be. And we're coming to the end of the episode at the moment. I want to finish with 2 things. The first is, what's a fun fact about you that people don't know?
Fun fact about me. I always love this question when people ask me.
You've done a few on Instagram.
I never had a father in my life. I grew up around women. That's why I'm so sensitive and so in touch with my emotions. And I was bullied a lot. I guess people would know that. I share that quite a fair bit over social media, but I felt like having that experience and those moments when I was a child helped me understand now that I'm more of a man than a lot of people out there. I'm in touch with my feminine side, which is, so special to be able to express your full emotions and not suppress and not care what anybody thinks about you. I've gone through pain. I've gone through hell. I've been beaten up. I've had money extorted from me. I've had so much happen to me. And, I wouldn't be where I am now if that didn't happen. So I'm so grateful now. Like I say, flowers don't grow without rain. During that shit time, didn't realize it. I was getting bullied all the time. And, I wanted to feel accepted, be one of the boys. And I was doing everything I could. But now I realized, like, I was way more in touch with who I was than any of those people. And it's made me who I am today.
It's not the funnest fact in the world.
It's not the funnest fact in the world. I don't really know a fun fact,
what?
bro.
I appreciate the vulnerability.
Yeah. Well,
it's something that is really awesome. Seeing that retrospectively, that you've made this, I guess, full circle. Like, these were my tough challenges. I was in the trenches dealing with all this stuff, and now I've come out on top with who I was meant to be. I love that, and I want that to pivot perfectly into my final question, which is what I leave everyone with. And I give everyone this opportunity. And I know, Jansen, you're a huge fan of the show, so I think you know what I'm about to ask. And, I want to give you the platform to really speak your mind about whatever it is that you want to speak about. It could be something related to what we talked about today. It could be something completely different, but the platform is all yours, my friend.
Honestly, if you're listening to this right now, the one thing that I want to leave you with is don't worry about what anybody else thinks of you, as hard as it is, to not, your egos and everything get in the way. Go out and do what you want. Be who you want to be, because at the end of the day, the only person that's really judging you is yourself. If you're worried about what other people are thinking about you, then you haven't really accessed your full potential. And that potential is there in absolutely everyone, and you just have to let go of what other people think of you and just run with it. So, it's a deep bit of advice, and I don't want to touch on anything about nutrition, because my whole philosophy of life is everybody is on this planet to be the best version of themselves, and at the end of the day, everyone wants to be happy. I truly believe everyone wants to live a happy life, and that's why that's why you also shouldn't go out and judge people, but we are human. We do judge people. That's just in our nature. But everybody's on this planet to be happy. So if what they're doing is making them happy, then let them be. Set by example. I say this all the time, but nobody wants to be told what to do or what they are doing is wrong. I went through that phase when I first went vegan and went plant-based. You try and, persuade people and tell people, but it never works. Just be the best version of yourself possible. And if you want somebody to listen to you, eventually they're going to start asking questions. But also don't go out and climb that mountain, face that challenge, whatever scares you. If it doesn't scare you and if it doesn't challenge you, then it won't make you grow. You won't develop from it. So do things that scare you every single day, just go out, and you never know when something's going to knock on your door that's going to change your life. And always be open. I always say open mind, open heart when somebody's talking, because you never know what's going to come out of their mouth that could change your life, or what's going to come out of your mouth that could change their life. But, empathize with people's situations, and also, don't judge somebody by what they look like, because you got no idea what's going on in their life. But just go out and take what's yours. Life's there to be lived and loved. Be present in the moment. Be in the now. Because like I said in this podcast already, you're only going to have this moment once. Soak it up. Enjoy it. And just laugh and smile as much as possible.
That made me smile.
Laugh and smile as much as possible. And, when someone says oh, can we do this for... Say, for instance, can we do this for a little bit longer, but you've got to go and get to that meeting or whatever it is. If you go down that track and then something happens during that day, you would have wished that you have spent that time with that person for that extra 5 minutes rather than being late to a meeting. Who cares? That moment is more special than being late to a meeting. Because what if you don't have that moment again? Something happens.
True. Take every moment by the balls, as they say.
Take every moment by the balls.
Look, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on for round 2, and thankfully and purposefully a little bit, we left a lot of loose ends and a lot of different topics that we can explore for round 3 post-Bustleton when you hit your early 9s, and that'll be awesome. So, I wanted to say on behalf of me and of the Plant Paradigm community, and maybe even of other humans if I get that bestowed upon me, thank you for being an incredibly positive and uplifting soul, and more so than that, for being real. Like you talked about, it's incredibly easy to just have a facade, like more than any other time. And when I see you sometimes and you're not fully hype, I'm just like, what the hell is going on? Is this guy sick? But no, this guy's real. And what you bestow on social media, I know anecdotally, is absolutely true to who you are. So thank you for doing that. But thank you for also, preaching the power of plants. And that's a lot of what we talk about on the show. And the fact that not only helps our bodies, our health, but planetary health on top of the animals that are saved. The average Australian eats about 1.5 thousand animals a year across the different meals. And, you have that power to get rid of that for yourself, but also influence other people to make those healthy choices to, go away from suffering and into something else. So I thank you deeply for that. It makes a huge difference, doesn't go unnoticed. And I will see you next time on the show.
Thank you so much for having me once again, and just coming here to just have a chat and share a few things of wisdom. And just hopefully some of the information that we shared today helps you. And I look forward to chatting with you again in another 6 months.
Sounds great. Obviously, got Plant Strong Jans on Instagram. That's the best place to reach you. I'll leave all the links to connect with Jansen below. There's a few different things if you want to hire him as a chef, of course. That is there to get the most amazing cooking. But what we're about to do now, while we spoke about food, is have an amazing dinner and enjoy life in this moment, aren't we?
Amen to that.
Peace. Welcome to the end of the episode. What an insane conversation with Jansen. Obviously, he's an amazing individual, and I highly recommend following him on all the different socials to kind of see what we were talking about in terms of him being absolutely crazy. But on top of all that, he actually leaves some amazing tips on there for fitness, for health, vitality, lifestyle. I think his social media is actually a pretty good resource just to learn and keep up to date. And we can use social media as one of those tools to act as almost a platform to be the average of the 5 people you hang around with. I always say that 5 people can be the podcast that you listen to, it can be the influencers that you follow, and you've got to make sure those influencers are real, they're raw, because the last thing you want to do is be following someone that's not genuine, because then you're going to be living up to unrealistic expectations. A huge good luck to Jansen on his Bustleton. Definitely follow him as well to see how he goes on that one. If you enjoyed this conversation, there is 2 main ways you can help out the show. The first being leaving a review, which helps out hugely for us to rise on the ranks and reach more people so we can talk about the power of plants and the way that it betters our bodies, the planet, and all the animals. The second way is by sharing this with a friend, family member, or colleague so that they can be bestowed upon the information that we talked about today and the incredible wisdom that Jansen had to offer. But that is all from me today. Until next time, eat plants, stay happy, peace.